Cold metal air filled the underground marketplace as creatures from many worlds gathered to buy and sell living beings. The ceiling lights flickered like dying stars, and shadows moved across rows of cages. Every voice carried the same hunger. They wanted rare life. They wanted strange species. And today they wanted a human. Inside a rusted cage stood Mira. Her feet were bare and her clothes torn from days of transport. Her wrists were wrapped with old restraints that cut into her skin. Every breath she took felt like a tremble. She knew the aliens staring at her did not see a person. They saw a product, a thing, something to own, something to use, something to eat. Voices rose around her cage. Strong body, one alien hissed. High emotional reaction, another whispered. Good for meat quality, a third said with cold excitement. Mira bit down on her shaking lip. She wanted to scream, but her voice broke inside her throat. She looked at the floor and tried not to cry. She knew if she cried the bidders would enjoy it. They wanted to see fear. They wanted to see a human break. The auctioneer stepped forward. His skin was rough and blue, and his eyes glowed like sharp ice. He lifted his arm, and the crowd fell silent. Lot number 31, he announced. A human female, a murmur spread through the crowd. Humans were rare. Most aliens believed they were lost in old wars. To see one alive was almost unreal. Mira lifted her head for a moment. She hoped someone might see her as something more than livestock. Instead, the auctioneer continued describing her the same way someone might describe an animal. Healthy heart rate. High emotional yield. Humans are known for strong fear response. Excellent for those who enjoy fresh meat or fear energy extraction. The crowd came closer. Mira pressed her back against the bars. She could feel their excitement. She could feel their hunger. A small tear slipped down her cheek. Please, she whispered so quietly that only she could hear it. Please, someone get me out of here. The auctioneer snapped his fingers, and a bright light fell over her cage. He forced her to step forward. She stumbled, but did not fall. Begin the bidding, he shouted. The first hand rose, then another, then 10 more. Mira watched as her worth was decided by numbers shouted in a language she could not understand. Her heart pounded so hard she felt dizzy. She felt her legs weaken. She thought of her home. She thought of the last time she was free. All of it felt like a dream slipping out of her hand. Then suddenly the bidding stopped. The room fell quiet. Every voice faded. Every gaze turned toward the back of the market. A figure stood there wrapped in dark cloth that hid his face and body. He did not move with the excitement of a buyer. He stood like someone who already knew the ending of the story. His presence felt heavy, cold, dangerous. The auctioneer hesitated. Do you wish to place a bid, stranger? The cloaked figure raised one hand. The entire crowd reacted with surprise. Whoever this was carried power. Enough power that no one wanted to challenge him. The other bidders stepped back without being told. No one dared raise another hand. Mira felt her breath catch. Something about him made her chest tighten, not from fear, from confusion. He did not stare at her like she was meat. He stared like he was studying her, like he was looking through the cage, through the fear, through her. The auctioneer nodded quickly. Sold, he declared. The human belongs to the cloaked buyer. Chains rattled as guards unlocked her cage. Mira stepped out with shaking legs. She did not know if she should run or fight or collapse. She lifted her eyes to look at the cloaked figure as he approached her. Her voice broke as she whispered, Please, hold me, use me, do whatever you want. Just get me out of here. He paused in front of her. The air felt heavier. She waited for cruelty. She waited for pain. Instead he spoke with a cold, steady voice. You will learn soon enough why I bought you. And it is not for what they think. Mira felt a new fear grow inside her. A different kind of fear. Because she realized something. She was no longer trapped in a cage. She was trapped in something far more mysterious. Mira followed the cloaked buyer through the dark corridors behind the auction house. Her wrists were still bound with metal cuffs. Her legs felt weak from fear and exhaustion. Every step echoed in the narrow hallway like a warning. She kept her head down, but her thoughts raced. She did not know if she should feel relief or terror. She was still alive, but she did not understand why. The cloaked figure opened a metal door and motioned for her to enter. Inside was a small transport room lit by dim blue fire strips. A single floating pod waited in the center. The air felt colder than the auction hall. Mira shivered and hugged herself. Inside, the cloaked figure said. His voice was smooth and controlled. It did not carry hunger or cruelty, but it also offered no comfort. Mira stepped into the pod. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss. She felt the pod lift and move. Through a small window, she saw the underground marketplace fade into distance. As they rose into the upper levels of the alien city, her heart pounded as she stared at him. He sat in the control seat with the hood still covering his face. She tried to understand him. Why would a being with such power buy a human? Why would he stop all other bidders without a word? Why did he look at her with something that was not hunger? "What do you want with me?" she asked with a shaky voice. He did not answer. The silence stretched longer than she could bear. She felt like she was trapped not by chains, but by uncertainty. She pressed her palm against the glass of the pod and tried again. "Please just tell me. I do not want to be meat. I do not want to be used for fear energy." Her breath broke. "If you want me to work or to serve you, I will. Just do not hurt me. Just do not send me back there." The cloaked figure finally turned his head slightly. Though she could not see his eyes, she felt his attention sharpen. "You think I bought you for use," he said quietly. "You think I bought you to harm you?" Mira nodded slowly. It was the only truth she knew. In this galaxy, humans had no other purpose. Every alien she had seen until now looked at her like she was less than a creature. The cloaked figure leaned back in his seat. "You misunderstand everything," he said. "I did not buy you because you are livestock. I bought you because you are evidence." Mira did not understand. Evidence of what? Her confusion grew into fear again. She tried to pull her wrists free, but the cuffs cut deeper. The pod shook as they entered a flight path above the city. Huge ships moved around them in slow formation. Light from the towers reflected on the smooth surface of the pod. Mira stared at the passing lights and tried to hold herself still. After a long moment, the cloaked figure lifted one hand and pressed a symbol on the panel. The door of her pod slid open. For a moment she thought he might free her, but instead he pointed to a narrow chair beside him. "You may sit," he said. Mira hesitated. The invitation felt strange. No alien had ever given her a choice. She stepped out and sat down. Her hands rested in her lap. The cuffs felt heavier than ever. The cloaked figure lowered his hood. Mira gasped. He looked nothing like the cruel blue auctioneer or the reptile bidders. His skin was pale silver with faint glowing marks across his cheekbones. His eyes were sharp but not cruel. They held something she had not seen in a long time. Thought, calculation, maybe even conflict. "My name is Fallon," he said. "I am a commander of the Outer Systems Navy." Mira felt shock freeze her breath. A commander. Someone with real authority. Someone who did not need to hide in black markets. "Why would someone like you be in a place like that?" she whispered. "And why would you buy someone like me?" Fallon looked out the window. His jaw tightened as if he carried a burden heavier than her chains. "Because humans were declared extinct 2 centuries ago," he said. "And yet I found you in a cage, sold as meat. Sold as fear. Sold like nothing." Mira's heart slammed against her ribs. She stared at him in disbelief. "You are not livestock, Mira," Fallon said. "You are proof that our history is wrong. And there are forces that will kill to keep that truth buried." Mira felt the cold of his words crawl deep into her bones. She was not just a prisoner anymore. She was a target, and she had no idea who might be hunting her now. The pod moved through the dark clouds of the alien sky while Mira sat frozen beside Commander Thalon. His words still echoed inside her mind. Humans extinct, humans hunted, humans sold as meat. She felt like her body was present, but her soul was drifting somewhere far away. The fear that lived inside her since the day she was captured now felt different. It was heavier and sharper. It had a new shape. Thalon focused on the controls, but Mira could feel his attention returning to her again and again. He watched the rise and fall of her breath. He watched her trembling hands. He watched the empty look in her eyes. He understood she was not only scared. She was carrying something deeper. Something he needed to hear. "You have questions," he finally said. "Ask them." Mira's voice cracked when she tried to speak. "What will happen to me now?" "You will not be harmed," Thalon answered. "I did not save you to destroy you. I need you alive." The words were good, but they did not reach her heart. She pulled her knees close and rested her cuffed hands on them. She stared at the floor. "Commander," she whispered, "you said humans vanished 200 years ago. Then why did your people not look for them? Why did they leave us to be hunted like animals?" Thalon paused. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, as if fighting with old memories. There were wars. Many worlds fell. Information was lost. Some species vanished. When no human signals were detected for decades, the Council declared your kind gone. But I never believed that. Mira lifted her head. "Why?" Thalon looked straight at her. Something strong lived behind his eyes. "Because humans do not die quietly. History showed that again and again. Your kind fights, survives, endures. Even when logic says it is impossible." For the first time, Mira saw respect in an alien's eyes. It shook her. She did not know how to hold it. She lowered her gaze again. "Then why am I the only one you rescued?" she whispered. "There were more humans in cages. Many more. Why me?" Thalon leaned forward. "I could only take one without exposing my mission. If I tried to save all of them, the black market would scatter. I needed proof before I could act. And you are that proof, Mira." She felt a sharp pain inside her chest. Not physical, emotional. She looked up and forced herself to speak. "I thought no one cared," she said. "I thought the galaxy forgot us. I thought humans were nothing but a nightmare story. Something to buy, something to break, something to cut open." Her voice grew softer. "Do you know why I begged at the auction? Why I said hold me, use me? Just get me out of here." Thalon inhaled slowly. "I want to understand. Tell me." Mira's hands shook harder. The pod lights reflected in her tears as they fell. "They killed my brother in front of me," she said in a broken voice. "He tried to fight when they came for us. He shouted that we were human, that we were not animals. But they laughed, they stunned him, they dragged him away. They hung tags on us like products, and they separated us. I have not seen him since." Thalon's expression darkened. Mira kept speaking. Once the pain found a voice, it refused to stop. "Every day after that, they treated us like meat. They fed us like creatures, they chained us. They measured us. They talked about flavor. They tested fear levels. I stopped looking at faces. I stopped hoping. I stopped being human." She wiped her tears with her shoulder because her hands were still bound. "When I stood at the auction, I thought I would die that night. I could feel it. My body knew it. So when you raised your hand, I thought you wanted to eat me too. I did not care. I just wanted to leave that place. I just wanted the pain to end. That is why I said use me, hold me, just take me away. I was not begging for life. I was begging for an ending." Thalon looked at her with a depth she had never seen in an alien before. He reached out and touched the control on her cuffs. They unlocked with a soft click. The metal fell away from her wrists. "You are not livestock," he said quietly. "You are not meat. You are not a thing. What they did to you is not your story, it is their crime. And I will not let it continue." Mira stared at her free hands. She felt a strange warmth spread across her chest. Not hope. Not yet. But something close to it. Thal N turned his gaze to the window. "Now you understand why I needed the truth. Because if one human survived, then others might also be alive. And if that is true, then this galaxy has committed a sin that cannot stay hidden." Mira wiped her tears again. "What will we do now?" she whispered. Edelin's eyes hardened with purpose. "We expose them, we bring justice, and we find the rest of your people. But first we must survive. Because now that you are free, the ones who owned that market will come for us both." A cold wave of fear traveled through Myra. She was free, but she was not safe, and this was only the beginning. The pod continued its silent path through the clouds, until it reached a massive gray warship hidden inside a floating storm. Mira stared at the ship with wide eyes. It stretched across the sky like a giant metal beast. Lights shimmered along its surface. Engines rumbled with a low, steady vibration that felt like the heartbeat of a titan. Thal N guided the pod into a docking bay. The doors closed behind them, and the noise of the storm vanished. For a moment, Mira felt the strange silence of a place she had never imagined she would see. A military ship, place of power, a place where decisions shaped the fate of worlds. The pod door opened. "Stay close," Thalen said. "There are people here who cannot know what you are." Mira stepped out with her freed hands held tight against her chest. She felt the eyes of armored soldiers watching them from a distance. None of them approached. They bowed their heads to Thalen with respect. A commander carried weight. And Thalen carried more than authority. He carried fear. Mira followed him into a long metallic hallway. The walls hummed with hidden systems. Lights blinked above their heads. Through windows she saw stars and drifting dust clouds outside. She walked slowly as if one wrong step could break everything around her. "Thalen," she whispered. "You. SOID humans are evidence." "Evidence of what?" He did not answer at first. He led her into a private command chamber. Once inside, he pressed his hand to a glowing panel. The doors locked with a quiet thump. A dim blue light filled the room. The air felt different, heavy with secrets. Thalen walked to a large screen and activated it. Strange symbols filled the display. Mira did not understand them, but she felt the importance in the way Thalen looked at them. "This," he said, "is why I went to the black market." The screen shifted to a list of missing species. Many were marked extinct. Many were marked vanished. But Mira saw something that made her breath freeze. Homo sapiens, extinct -221 years. Her heart dropped. "They really erased us," she whispered. Edelin nodded. His expression was grim. "They erased you from our history. They erased you from our laws. They erased your place among intelligent species. They called humans a dead race and moved on. But there were rumors, whispers, old signals hidden in star maps. Something told me your kind did not fall as the Council claimed." He typed another command. The screen changed. Now Mira saw images of cages, human cages. Images taken in different worlds, different auctions, different owners. Some cages held bones, some held drawings on the walls. One held tiny shoes. Mira covered her mouth as tears burned her eyes. These images were collected by a small group of officers who questioned the Council, Thalen said. Most of them disappeared. Silenced, told to stop searching. Told they were chasing ghosts. Mira stared at the screen with shaking hands. So the Council knew humans might still exist. And they ignored it. Thalen's voice grew lower. No, they did more than ignore it. They protected the markets. They closed investigations. They claimed the images were fakes. They warned officers not to search for humans. If you ask why they did it, the answer is simple. He tapped another panel. A new image appeared. A contract. Trade contract between elite alien houses. They were trading humans. Humans were worth more dead than alive. Humans were worth more as fear energy. Humans were worth more as meat. Mira stumbled back and hit the wall. This cannot be real. This cannot be true. It is real, Fallon answered, and it is bigger than you or me. If the public learns that humans were alive all this time, then powerful families will lose wealth. The council will fall. And the black market will be exposed. Mira felt her breath break again. Her voice became a whisper. So you did not just save me. You stole the most dangerous secret in the galaxy. Fallon looked at her with a seriousness that made the room feel colder. Yes, and now the market owners know someone took you. They know a commander walked into their territory. They will alert. The council, they will try to frame me. They will try to erase you before I can prove you exist. Mira touched her chest. Why risk your life for a stranger? For me, Fallon stepped closer. Because you are not a stranger. You are a human. Your kind shaped history. You built cities from nothing. You fought empires without fear. Your spirit changed wars. You earned your place in the galaxy. And someone decided to rip it away. Mira felt a rise of fire inside her. Not anger alone. Something stronger. A spark she thought she lost. So what now, she Iskadthalin walked to another panel and activated the ship's alert systems. Now we run, he said, and while we run, we search for others like you. Because if one human survived, then more might be out there, hiding, waiting, or suffering. Mira closed her eyes for a moment. She was no longer only a survivor. She was the center of a secret that could shake worlds, and the galaxy was about to notice she was alive. The warship vibrated as engines roared to life. Mira stood near the command chamber doors, while Fallon worked quickly across glowing control panels. Every screen flashed with red warnings. The ship's alarms pulsed through the halls like a heartbeat. Speeding out of control. What is happening? Mira asked. Her voice trembled. Lynn did not look up. They found us faster than I expected. The market owners must have contacted a hunter cruiser. It is closing in on our location. They want you back before I reveal the truth to anyone. Mira felt cold panic spread through her chest. So we are trapped. No, we still have a chance. But we have to move now. Fallon grabbed a datapad and stepped toward her. Stay behind me. Do not talk to any officers and do not look anyone in the eyes. If someone questions who you are, I will answer. You only move when I say. Mira nodded quickly. Her heart was pounding so loud she felt it echo in her ears. They left the chamber and walked into the main corridor. The entire ship had shifted into emergency mode. Holograms flashed across the walls. Soldiers ran to their stations. Energy weapons charged with rapid clicks. The ship trembled again as something heavy struck its outer hull. Mira stumbled, but Fallon grabbed her arm before she fell. They are firing warning shots. They want to scare us into stopping. They will not stop there. They reached the lift and descended toward engineering. The deeper they went, the louder the ship groaned. It felt alive and frightened. Mira held the railing tightly and focused on breathing. When the doors opened, they stepped into a massive engine bay. Huge reactors glowed with swirling blue energy. Sparks fell from damaged pipes. Workers shouted orders as they tried to stabilize systems. One officer rushed toward Fallon. Commander, the shield grid is failing. We cannot take another hit. We do not need to take hits. We need to run, Fallon said. Divert all power to the main engines. The officer hesitated. That will drain life support on lower decks. Do it. Now the officer obeyed. Mira watched the chaos with wide, uneasy eyes. She had never seen so many aliens fear something. And they were not scared of Fallon. They were scared of whoever was chasing them. Fallon turned to Mira. I need you to focus. There is something only you can do. Mira blinked in confusion. Me, what can I do? I do not know any of this. You know more than you think, Fallon answered. You survived cages. You observed everything around you. You know how machines sound, how systems fail. Humans adapt faster than any species I have ever studied. Mira shook her head. I do not know if I can help. You can, he said. I have seen what your kind can do when they have nothing left to lose. She swallowed hard. What do you need me to do? Fallon pointed to a narrow maintenance tunnel high above the main engine. The shield regulator is stuck. The workers cannot reach it. You are small enough to climb through the access shaft. If that regulator stays frozen, the next blast will tear the ship open. Mira stared at the shaft. It was dark. It was narrow. It hummed with unstable energy. I am scared, she whispered. Redolin placed a steady hand on her shoulder. I know, but fear is not weakness, Myra. It is the reason your kind survives. Use it. Move with it. Let it push you forward. Mira took a single deep breath. Then another. Her hands shook. Her body was tired. Her heart was heavy. But she climbed that. She pulled herself through the opening and crawled into the tunnel. Hot air burned her skin. Metal scraped against her arms. The sound of the engines vibrated through her bones. She kept moving because stopping meant death, not just for her, but for everyone on the ship. She reached the damaged regulator. Sparks shot out like angry insects. Every instinct screamed at her to go back. But she forced her hands forward and grabbed the release lever. It would not move. Myra pushed harder. Tears rolled down her face from the heat. Please, she whispered. Please work. Do not let me fail. She braced her feet and pulled with all her strength. The lever snapped free. A wave of energy rushed through the tunnel and the shield grid surged back to life. Mira gasped as the vibration faded. The ship stabilized. She could breathe again. She crawled out of the tunnel shaking. Fallon caught her before she fell from the opening. He helped her back onto the walkway. You did it, he said. There was something warm in his voice now, real respect, real trust. Before Myra could answer, the ship lights flickered again. A new alarm echoed across the bay. Fallon's jaw tightened. They are not giving up. The hunter cruiser is charging its main cannon. Mira stared at him. What does that mean? It means they intend to destroy us. And they will do it unless we escape in the next few minutes. Mira felt new fear rise inside her, but she also felt something else, a growing fire, a spark of human strength. She was no longer running just to save herself. She was running to protect a truth that could free her entire species, and the galaxy was coming closer, ready to erase her again unless she and Fallon fought back. Asterisk. The warship finally broke free from the storm and entered open space. The engines roared as Fallon pushed the ship into a dangerous, high-speed drift. The hunter cruiser faded behind them until it looked like nothing more than a silver dot. But Mira could not relax. Her hands still shook from the climb. Her body was tired. Her heart felt heavier than ever. Fallon placed a hand on the main control. We are safe for now. But the Council will send more ships. We must reach an outpost before they track us again. Mira nodded, even though her throat felt tight. Will they kill us if they catch us? They will kill me, Fallon said. And they will erase you to protect their secret. That is why we must reach someone I trust. Someone with authority to help us expose this. He set a course toward a remote outpost hidden in a dust belt. Mira watched the stars blur outside the window. She wondered if her brother was somewhere out there, alive, alone, waiting. She held the thought like a fragile stone in her hand. Hours later, the ship landed on a quiet platform made of old metal rings. The outpost looked abandoned. Faint lights flickered across its surface. No guards, no movement. Stay close, Fallon said. If any feels wrong, tell me at once. They stepped through the airlock and entered a narrow hallway that smelled like rust and old wires. Mira stayed behind him with careful steps. Her chest felt tight again. She wished she understood her fear better. Danger felt close. Too close. Thalen pressed his hand to a scanner. The door opened with a long side dot. Inside stood a tall alien officer with gray patterned skin and golden eyes. He wore a commander's crest even brighter than Thalen's. His expression was sharp and unreadable. "Commander Velen," Thalen said, "I need your help. The Council has lied. Humans are alive." "I found one in the black market," Velen raised an eyebrow. "A human? That is a bold claim, Thalen." "Show me." Myra stepped forward slowly. As soon as Velen saw her, his eyes widened, not with shock, with hunger, with interest, with greed. The kind Mira had seen many times before. Thalen did not notice the change yet. He was too focused on his mission. "We need to reveal this to the Senate. The Council must answer for this crime." Velen walked toward Mira with slow, deliberate steps. "And what do you plan to do with her, Thalen?" "Humans are rare, valuable. A living one could bring unimaginable wealth." Mira stepped back instinctively. Thalen saw it and moved in front of her. "She is not property. She is proof of genocide." Velen laughed softly. "Thalen, you are noble. Too noble. You think truth will save your career. You think justice will win, but the markets are powerful. They feed the Council. They feed the admirals. Exposing them will destroy entire systems. And you think one frightened human will change that?" Thalen's eyes hardened. "Stand aside, Velen. This is bigger than you." Velen stopped smiling. His golden eyes turned cold. "You should have stayed quiet, Thalen. You should have left the humans where they belong." In cages, without warning, Velen drew his weapon. Mira gasped. Thalen reacted at the same moment. He shoved Mira behind a metal crate and raised his arm. A bright blue shield snapped into place just before Velen fired. The blast slammed into the shield and sent sparks across the room. "You betrayed the Navy," Thalen shouted. "You sold humans behind the Council's back. You used your rank to protect the trade." Velen tilted his head. "Yes, and why should I stop? Humans bring profit. They bring power. Their fear has value. Their bodies have value. This one will make me wealthy beyond measure." Mira felt her heart beating so fast she thought it might burst. She crawled lower behind the crate and whispered, "Thalen, he will kill you. We have to run." Thalen shook his head. "No. If he leaves this room, he will call hunters. He will sell you before the sun rises. We end this here." Velen fired again. The shield flickered. Thalen's jaw tightened. Mira forced herself to move. Her fear was strong, but something stronger pushed against it. She remembered what Thalen told her. Humans do not die quietly. Humans do not surrender. Humans endure. She spotted an access console beside the wall. Wires dangled from it. She crawled toward it while keeping her head low. Velen aimed at Thalen again. "You chose the wrong side, Thalen. The Council will cut you out like a disease. And the human will return to the market where she belongs." Mira felt anger rise like fire. She touched the console and pulled out a wire. Sparks shot out. A security drone dropped from the ceiling and crashed behind Velen. The noise distracted him for 1 second. Thalen moved. He launched forward and knocked Velen's weapon aside. They clashed in the center of the room. Mira watched in fear and awe as Thalen fought with a precision she had never seen. Velen struck back with brutal force. The two commanders battled. While sparks fell around them, everything felt chaotic. Everything felt dangerous. Everything felt real. Myra grabbed Velen's fallen weapon with shaking hands. It felt heavy, wrong, but she lifted it anyway. She pointed it at him. Thalen saw her. Velen saw her too. For the first time in her life, an alien looked at her with fear. Because Mira was no longer prey. The chamber shook as Velen and Thalen struggled across the metal floor. Mira held the weapon with trembling hands. Her heart pounded like a war drum inside her chest. She had never pointed a weapon at anyone before. She had been the hunted one, the powerless one, the forgotten one. But now Velen's golden eyes locked on her with real fear. Fear of a human. Thalen twisted Velen's arm and pushed him back. Mira, move away. He is dangerous, but Mira did not move. Something inside her had changed. Something old. Something human. The part of her that believed she was nothing more than prey was gone. Velen wiped blood from his lip and gave her a hateful stare. You think you can fight me? You were born to kneel, born to be sold. Born to die in a cage. Mira lifted the weapon higher. No, I was born human. Her voice shook, but it carried strength that filled the room. Velen charged toward her. Thalen shouted her name. Mira fired. A blast of blue light exploded from the gun and struck Velen's armor. He flew backward and hit the wall with a heavy crash. Sparks burst around him as his weapon fell from his hand. The room fell silent. Mira stared at her shaking fingers. She expected to feel guilt or fear or regret, but she felt power. Because she had chosen to fight. Because she had refused to die quietly. Thalen rushed to her side and placed a hand on her shoulder. His voice softened for the first time since she met him. You did well, Mira. You saved both of us. She lowered the weapon slowly. I did not think. I just acted. That is what makes your kind dangerous, Thalen said with a faint smile. You make choices. You adapt. You see threats before others do. That is why humans shaped the old wars. Even without technology, you still bend the battlefield. Mira looked at Velen lying unconscious on the ground. She felt no triumph, only clarity. If someone like him exists, then others do too. They will keep hunting us. Yes, Thalen said, but now we have proof. And we have time. He helped her stand and guided her toward the control station. We must send a transmission. Once the truth reaches certain officers, the council will not be able to hide this anymore. The markets will fall. Mira touched the cold metal of the console. Will it be enough? It will start something, Thalen said. Something powerful. Mira typed a command as Thalen activated the secure relay. A deep hum moved through the chamber as the outpost connected to hidden military channels. Mira watched as images of cages and humans appeared on the screens. It felt strange to see her own suffering turned into evidence. Into a weapon. Her voice was quiet. I hope they believe us. They will, Thalen said. Because the truth always reaches those who are ready to hear it. The relay sent the transmission. The message was out. It could no longer be buried. Suddenly the walls trembled again. Warning sirens echoed through the outpost. Thalen's eyes sharpened. The hunter cruiser found us. They came faster than expected. Mira felt fear rise inside her, but it was different now. It did not steal her breath. It sharpened her mind. What do we do? Thalen pressed a panel on the wall. We leave this place. The ship can still fly. But first, he looked toward Velen. He cannot be allowed to follow us, Mira nodded. I understand. They moved quickly. Mira helped Thalen secure Velen in restraints stronger than the ones she once wore. The outpost shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep rumble echoed through the metal floor. They are preparing to fire. Thalen said, We must move. They ran through the hallway and reached the ship. The doors closed just as the outpost was hit by a blast outside. Mira held onto the railing as the ship launched into space. The hunter cruiser appeared on the screen. It was massive and armed. But something was different this time. Mira was no longer running because she was prey. She was running because she had a mission. She looked at Thalen. What now? He smiled in a way that held respect in something. Close to partnership. Now we expose the truth. Now we find the rest of your people. And now we fight back." Mira stared at the stars ahead of them. For the first time she did not feel small. She did not feel alone. She felt powerful. Her voice carried a new fire when she whispered, "Then let us fight for every human they tried to erase." The ship leaped into hyperspace. The galaxy was about to learn a truth it could not silence anymore. Humans were alive. Humans were rising. And humans would never kneel again.